Welcome to the Weather Insights briefing. I'm meteorologist Scott Pitney, along with meteorologist Jeff Lindner. We're recording this Saturday morning, January 24th, about 10:30 a.m. And a quick update on the watches and warnings for the area. We've got a special marine warning. We'll start with that. That line of showers and thunderstorms that moved through Houston Metro about 6 o'clock this morning, now offshore. That's the leading edge of the front. And quick check on the temperatures. Dropped about 10 degrees in the last 3 hours, so about 45 right now on average for Houston Metro. But that line of showers and thunderstorms pushing offshore. I think that's it for the showers and thunderstorms. Now we're looking at rain for the rest of the weekend. We have a ice storm warning. This is for areas north of Beaumont, covers most of East Texas over to Bryan College Station, not including Bryan College Station in Louisiana. And the timing for this, it's in effect now until 6 p.m. Sunday. Then we have winter storm warning. This is along the I-69 corridor. Goes down to the coast, but not including the coastal counties. Winter storm warning for Houston metro areas to the north, northwest, west, and southwest down into Victoria. And this is in effect until 6 p.m. Sunday. That's the winter storm warning. Then we have an extreme cold warning. This is in effect for coastal counties from Matagorda Bay over into Louisiana. And this is in effect now until 6 p.m. this evening, and then till or goes into effect, excuse me, from 6 p.m. this evening till noon on Tuesday. So that's the latest on watches and warnings, and I'll post a link in the show notes in case you want to look at all of the weather advisories in for your particular county. I'll put that in the show notes. Jeff, what is the latest on the winter storm?
Yeah, so this is a big one, and it's starting to unfold now in Texas. We have a lot of freezing rain and sleet and ice ongoing in North and Northwest Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, back down the hill country. I saw some pictures just a minute ago from Fredericksburg. There's ice everywhere out there, and so that cold air is coming in. It's coming in a little bit faster and maybe a little bit colder than what we kind of were anticipating. What a surprise! It's what Arctic air does. But if you look at some of the models this morning. They were saying 37, 38, 39 around College Station. We're down to 36 already at College Station. You can kind of see the upper pattern here. The Arctic air is kind of bleeding and oozing in under this upper trough here over Baja. So you can see our storm that was over off the California coast a couple days ago is now sunk down and has made the turn and is coming across Baja. Well, this is going to be our weather maker tonight and tomorrow. And so you can see all of this moisture and lift spreading across Mexico right now, heading for Southwest Texas. In the thunderstorms you mentioned that came through here this morning along the coast, that's kind of the first little shortwave that came through. And we're going to get a little bit of a break, but I don't know if we're going to get a lot of a break this afternoon. I think we're going to continue with scattered stuff. You can see already some enhancements here on the mid coast and the upper levels. So there's some lift coming in. There may be a little disturbance here in this flow also. So I don't think it's going to be completely dry out there. And that's going to continue to cause issues as that freezing line sinks southward. And then this bad boy comes in tonight and comes across. And I wouldn't rule out another round of thunderstorms.
Hmm.
And even some moderate heavy rainfall tomorrow morning. So the actual air temperature up around 4,000 feet is going to be in the mid 40s. And so we do have a little bit of instability up above this cold air at the surface. And so that could be enough to get some of these, some storms going again and some heavy rain. And unfortunately, at that point, the temperatures are going to be at or below freezing for a good portion of the area. And so that is the potential for that freezing rain. So I know there's been a lot of confusion on freezing timing and also how cold and where's the freeze line going to be and where's the ice going to be. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of different things you can listen to, but this is kind of the best scenario, what the best thing we have right now. And I'm going to go through the freezing line. This is for the metro area. This is kind of for Harris County. So if you're College Station in Huntsville, this isn't for you. This is for Harris County. College Station, Huntsville, you're probably going to fall below freezing here early mid-afternoon. All right. And then if you're out Waller, Hockley, kind of that far northwest area, maybe 99 and 290 Fairfield area, you're probably going below freezing sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock this evening. And then if you go from like the Woodlands down over towards Cypress, maybe Jersey Village over to Katy, you're probably 9, 10 o'clock this evening, maybe a little bit later. And then if you kind of come down to the 59 corridor, it's probably between about 11 o'clock tonight and 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then Baytown to Pearland, probably somewhere in that 2 to 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then down by the bay, in that 4 to 6 a.m. time frame tomorrow. So that's kind of the progression of the freezing line across the city as we get through this afternoon, this evening, and tonight. The further north and west you are, you're out here in Austin County or further out, you're going to be freezing before that. So you could have ice starting in Washington County, Austin County, and some of these areas well before we have ice to deal with in the metropolitan areas. So I know there's a lot being thrown out there, and that's kind of the best estimate we have right now. I want to continue to say these true Arctic air masses like this like to bleed southward very quickly. So it could very well be colder in Wharton and Sugar Land than it is in downtown Houston or even Humboldt tonight and tomorrow morning. So, I'm much more concerned out here on the west side, even down into Wharton and Fort Bend counties, that you're going to get that colder air coming in stronger and also a little bit faster because that Arctic air really likes to surge just straight down. So the other thing to look at is Monday morning. I know we focused a lot on low temperatures, and again, this is a nasty morning. These are very low temperatures for us here. The big question and one thing that could potentially save us a little bit is if we hold on to some cloud cover into Sunday night, Monday morning. If the sky's clear and we have ice on the ground, these temperatures are probably where we're going to end up, somewhere in this range. But if we can hold on to the clouds, you might add 3 or 4 or 5 degrees to these overnight lows. It's still going to be cold. We are still going to have a hard freeze in most areas, but some cloud cover could help us out on Sunday morning. We're just going to have to see how we kind of clear out. And it's a lot of times these Arctic air masses, when it gets this cold, they like to kind of have that low cloud cover hang around a little bit. And so we'll see. We'll deal with this tomorrow after we get through the freezing rain. And then I did want to show Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, the clouds are definitely going to be gone. At least that's the way it's looking now. So it's maybe a higher potential of realizing these cold temperatures. But if it's 14 or 16 or 17, we're really splitting hairs here. It's going to be really cold.
Yeah.
This is well below the threshold where you have issues with your pipes and all that type of stuff. The threshold for our area for having issues with pipe stuff is around 24, 25 degrees. So, even if we only get to 16 or 17 or 18, it is still below where we potentially have problems. That's why we've been asking and begging for people to take those preparation measures over the last couple days because it is going to be really cold. And I did want to show the wind chills. The wind chills, I don't have that graphic, but I did see the wind chills on Sunday night, Monday morning. Do still get into the single digits, especially off to the north and west, and really the teens, low teens everywhere else. And again, we're splitting hairs. And it's 12 or 8, it's cold. It is brutally
Yeah.
cold out there.
Yeah.
All right, I did want to talk about the ice accumulation. I've had questions about this also. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here while I'm talking, and you can kind of get the picture of this. And I think this does a good job of kind of showing this cold air really coming southward quicker out here to the west and getting down towards the Victoria and Beeville area. So we could have ice all down in this area. And then it's a little bit slower to kind of come east and get over towards the bay and I just gave a briefing here just a minute ago with the county emergency managers, and I was kind of telling those southeast folks down here, we're just going to have to see in the southeast part of Harris County and Galveston County how cold we really get. I think we're going to get to freezing 32, and water freezes at 32, but it doesn't always freeze at 32, especially when it's falling on surfaces that maybe are a little bit warm still. And so, usually, when you start talking about ice accumulation and freezing rain, it's around that 29, 30 degree range where we really start to see the bridges and the overpasses go downhill and the ice forming and all that. So it's questionable, even though you're technically freezing in the southeast part of the county and Galveston County, how much ice accumulation you get is a little bit harder because some of these surfaces are still going to be above freezing and the precipitation is going to start pulling out. And so if the bridge hasn't quite cooled yet enough, you may not get as much ice forming down in these areas. So, I'm cautious and hesitant to put a lot into this because even a very, very small amount of ice can cause a lot of problems on bridges and overpasses. So I don't want people to think down here in this area that it's good to get out and drive around. That's really not the case. But I don't think the problems are going to be quite as significant as they're going to be back off to the north and west. And so I think that some of the struggle we're having with this is that this event is really slicing the metro area right in half, and you're going to have much more significant travel impacts off to the north and west. You will still likely have travel impacts to the south and east. I just don't know if they're going to be quite as significant as off to the north and west. The other thing I'll point out is as we get really cold Sunday night, Monday morning, we've had a lot of rain now. We're getting a lot more rain. Even puddles and standing water on surface streets will freeze at those temperatures. So even though we may not have ice initially on surface streets, any big puddles and parking lots and all that kind of stuff will be frozen on Sunday night and Monday morning when we get down into the, mid lower 20s or upper teens. And so we could still have a lot of ice around here, especially off to the north and west on Monday morning. And then we'll kind of come out of that as we get into the later periods. And I'll zoom out a little bit just because you can kind of see the state. Still expecting a very significant ice storm. These totals have come down a little bit here in East Texas, which is maybe good. But I mean, again, you're splitting hairs. 6/10 of an inch of ice, a half an inch of ice. That's not good. The good news up here in North Texas is they've had a little bit more sleet this morning versus freezing rain, so that may save them a little bit on the ice accumulations. But it's still looking really damaging for an ice storm here in Northeast Texas and East Texas. And lastly, I'll show you kind of this graph for the impacts here, and you can kind of see the this is kind of a good idea of where we're expecting impacts with respect to the bridges and overpasses. Again, kind of slicing the metro in half. Even starting to get into some more significant impacts in that ice storm warning area. This was that consideration this morning of possibly extending that ice storm warning back to include Montgomery and possibly portions of northern Liberty counties, because you can see we're starting to get the potential here for some considerable impacts. And really, this would be more on the trees and the power line. The travel is going to be bad all up in this region. So that's the 10,000 foot level, and I hope I cleared up some of the details on the timing and the icing. I know I'm getting a lot of questions about all that, so I hope I cleared that up and kind of gave you the best information we have right now.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as Houston Metro, if you need to get out and do some running around today, it's a nasty day to do that rain-wise, and the streets are wet, but we don't expect any icing today. Our impacts come overnight into Sunday morning. Now, if you are thinking of venturing north or northwest, don't do it because those areas, College Station, the areas Jeff mentioned, could start seeing ice impacts as soon as this afternoon. Um, Again, Jeff, if I'm incorrect in any of that, I just, feel free to clarify. But I think we're good in Houston Metro for today, as far as ice
Yeah, we
concerns.
are. We are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so we'll continue the updates and briefings. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Until the next one, stay safe, and we'll see you then.